This video examines two moments from the novel War and Peace and the Nekopara anime that I think have a shared message about cognition and compassion. Nekopara is closely familiar to many. It is made by Neko Works, a doujinshi group led by an artist named Sayori. The original title was a 2014 visual novel about running a bakery with catgirls, and the franchise capitalized on its success with an incredibly popular Kickstarter for an OVA adaptation that premiered in late 2017. Most recently, there was a 12-episode original anime adaptation in winter 2020. I think the anime in particular reached new heights for the series in terms of animation, storytelling, and even musical direction. Meanwhile, War and Peace is an 1869 real-person longfic by Leo Tolstoy with an excess of original characters including obvious self-inserts and literal chapters of shoehorned philosophical tirades. One recurring theme that Tolstoy uses that I adore is that human decision-making is not rational, but whimsical. We like to think that our actions followed from measured evaluation of our situation and our personal values, but this is not at all the case. Our emotions commit us onto paths of action and are easily captured by completely random contextual impulses. The scenes that I will compare demonstrate this in surprisingly similar ways. First, in Nekopara. The relevant storyline is introduced in the very first episode and is one of the major messages to be delivered alongside more episodic pieces focusing on other character pairings. The group is gifted a dish of tuna, and Shakala eagerly sets off to buy a bottle of ponzu sauce. However, along the way she happens upon a very strange scene. A bit of a spoiler, but the cat is later named Cacao. Shakala's disposition shifts instantly. Even though her naivete causes her to misinterpret Cacao's situation, her attention becomes completely focused on what is an unusual situation in her world, a solitary kitten. After being followed home, Shakala realizes that Cacao has nowhere else to be, and recalling their closeness as she was once in the same situation, immediately begins creating a place for her. The meal that she was previously looking so forward to has become an afterthought out of her concern for someone else she had no idea even existed an hour ago. As the secret gets out, the other characters similarly drop what they're doing to clean and clothe Cacao and try and locate her owner before adopting, raising, and loving her. How about Tolstoy's interpretation? To be less facetious and provide meaningful background, War and Peace takes place during the French invasion of Russia in 1812, alternating between the battlefront and the home front. The scene parallel to the one in Nekopara is a little bit into the novel, starting on chapter 12 of book 11. It is on the eve of the culmination of this war. Napoleon's French forces had defeated the Russians at the massive Battle of Borodino, and now are advancing upon Moscow, which is abandoned by Russian forces in a strategic retreat. Even for the characters on the home front, war and peace are now colliding. In this context of a massive civilian evacuation from Moscow, the Rostov household, one that the novel has followed closely, is among the last to leave. However, as they do, wounded soldiers are streaming in from the front lines, with nowhere to go, sheltering into empty houses as the French army approaches. Though Count Ilya Rostov, the patriarch, has made some allowance to shelter and evacuate a few of the soldiers, there is significant momentum towards a default course of action as the family prepares to depart with carts full of trivial household goods. Shakala's alter ego is Natasha Rostova, who is a young woman still progressing through her moral journey at this point in the novel. She does not appear to comprehend the carnage emanating from warfare and, rather, is energized by the bustling activity of evacuation all around her. Still, it turns out to be Natasha who takes the critical first step. Her unrestrained nature is advantageous as she cries out in realization of the cruelty of leaving the wounded behind. The Count gives his blessing, and Natasha energetically delivers the welcome news. It is as everyone starts unloading the carts that Tolstoy enunciates the mood that summarizes this whole video. I will read it verbatim. It no longer seems strange to them, but on the contrary, it seemed the only thing that could be done, just as a quarter of an hour before it had not seemed strange to anyone that the wounded should be left behind and the goods carted away, but that had seemed the only thing to do. Both Natasha and Shakala allowed themselves to be swayed by their instincts and entirely reversed their normal patterns of thought and action. In doing so, they also mobilized others to do the same. Both also found a reward for their courage beyond assisting others. The Nekopara family added a new loving member, while Natasha was led to a situation which is a huge spoiler and perhaps the most pivotal event in the last part of the novel. I'll conclude with a personal application. Characters in fiction change their mind in an instant because they reflect our own human capacity to do so. Inspiration to do better or to be kinder can come from anywhere, from something as simple as War and Peace to something as complex as Nekopara, or even one of the infinite chance encounters we have every day. This doesn't mean you have to look for a deep message in everything, but I like to try and keep an open mind to allow positive encouragement into my life. This might sound like empty fluff to you. It is a bit awkward to say. It comes from my wish that everybody can find their spark, the thing that makes all the difference and makes them think, how did I go all my life not seeing this when it was right in front of me this whole time? I am personally delighted each time I come to one of these realizations, even if catgirls aren't involved. Thank you.